What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the 2023 Smark Out Moment Year-End Awards. The Smarkies are starting off with the All Elite Wrestling side of things. We've got three giant sets of categories to break down here as we do the end of every single year. Of course, we're going to do the WWE ones following all of these things. We are recording this actually pretty well in advance compared to when we normally do it. We usually do it around Christmas, and it is the 12th of December right now, before ROH Final Battle, before AEW World's End. We're going to address how that's going to work in a little bit here. But first things first, I want to remind you who the hell is even talking for this edition. You should know by now, but if in case you are brand new to this whole thing, I am your host, as always, Tony Mango. And as always, I am joined by Callum Wiggins.
It's the end of the year, but not the end of the world.
And Robert DeFelice.
No, that's on December 30th when we watch World's End.
We are, of course, trying to break down everything we possibly can in the world of pro wrestling with these awards. This is the most thorough, complex award system that I've ever seen. I've done my research on like some other websites and other things, and they don't go in depth as much as we do. We have the most streamlined version of this currently right now that we've ever had before. I've actually not made any adjustments this year compared to last year, which may be a first. I don't remember for sure, 100%, but we have many of the same categories returning that have been around from the very start. We have some that had been tweaked a little bit last year or so, and we're going to explain how that all works in a little bit here. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that as we give our picks for the best and the worst of these categories, whether it's on this video or the next 5 videos that we have, or if you're listening to this on the audio only versions, it should be like one big AEW one and then one big WWE one. Leave your comments on whatever platform it is that you're listening to us on. If you're on YouTube, obviously it's pretty simple. You hop on over to the YouTube comment section. If you're elsewhere, Amazon Music or Spotify or something, either hop on over to YouTube, or you can send a tweet at Smark Out Moment or at our accounts. Or you can post something on Facebook. You got the Mega Maniacs group. You got the page on smarkoutmoment.com. Lots of different ways for you to chime in and tell us what your picks are for this, or to tell us your thoughts on our picks for that, because you might just think that we're absolutely crazy. You might agree with us 100%. If you are on YouTube, by the way, though, make sure, as always, to hit the like button. It helps us out quite a bit here for the SEO and boosting us on the algorithm so people don't, miss out on these videos and stuff. I don't know if we're shadow banned or not, but that'll help out quite a bit. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel as well. Ring that little notification bell for any of those email alerts when we go live for certain videos. Click on that join button too if you want to get access to the same things you could find on the Patreon tiers, like the Darkcast tier, the Pick Your Poison tier. Even if it's $1 a month, it's greatly appreciated, especially now with the way that this algorithm works and everything. There's also a little thanks button on there. And, if you want to help out on the monetary side of things with the merchandise, Redbubble and TeePublic are where you can find that for not only Smark Out Moment, but Fanboys Anonymous and A Mango Tees. Lots of different products, lots of different things so you can slap those designs on top of. It all funnels back to A Mango Tree and means for me to continue to pay for all these things to be hosted and keep the lights on and everything like that. I am still sick as we were recording this, so hopefully by the next couple of recordings of this, it's a little bit better, and I'm not still clearing my throat as much. But we might have to clear our throats when we hear some of our other picks as we go along here. And of course, as we do this, I'm going to explain each category and all, but we are currently going to start off with the Technical Skills Awards on the AEW front, of course, because this is the AEW edition. Technical Skills Awards have a bunch of different categories in them, as they all do, and there is a best and a worst for each one of those categories. So as we talk about the good, we also want to talk about the bad. We usually tend to go bad first, good second. We kind of bounce around here and all. So, strap yourselves in, because this is going to be one of those long editions that we do every single year. One of my favorite things that we do on the Smark Out Moment front. And I'm excited to hear everybody else's picks and everything too. So I think we should just go ahead and get started. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I will preface, as I do here and there with my picks, that some of them I haven't picked yet. I'm going to pick them on the spot. And also, it's important to know and to go back to talk about this. Not only are we picking everything from the TV shows and the pay-per-views and stuff, but we might pick some things outside of the pay-per-views and everything. Like if, we want to give a worst to something that happened in like the rumor mill of AEW or something. We don't watch absolutely everything because it's almost impossible to do that. So we might have gaps in our picks. And when it comes to trying to pick things, I found this really hard this year. I know that we were talking a little bit before this got started about some of the pros and cons about picking this year for AEW and WWE for that matter. And I found it a lot harder to do the AEW list. Callum found it a lot harder to do the WWE list. It's kind of going along with the theme that we've had this year, which is really funny to me.
It's always kind of been our vibe, but like this year in particular, it's really been you completely one way, Callum in completely the opposite direction, and I'm just
anchoring the middle ground.
Yeah.
I'm also going to say here, just in advance for anybody that's wondering why I'm not picking those things, I don't watch any ROH. So I'm sure that there are way more picks that I would go on the ROH side of it if I really actually watched that show instead of just, kind of filling in the gaps and reading what happens and stuff. But
you wouldn't.
Well, on the worst side of it?
It's very mid.
I wouldn't even say on the worst, really. It's very middle of the ground.
Yeah. Because I don't even know who some of these people are.
For the most part.
I've been looking at Tony's past answers, and he did literally write AEW Dark Dregs for one of the answers. So maybe, I don't know, but I think it's very mid, and I don't think Ring of Honor would have ended up taking up too much space.
We'll see. And as we go along, we tell us your things and you tell us the opposites and stuff. Maybe you'll remind us of things that we had forgotten, because that does tend to happen every so often. We'll be going through this and we'll be like, oh, the worst gimmick of the year was such and such. And then we go, oh crap, I completely forgot. Yeah, I'm going to pick that one too. Also, though, on top of it, as I said, we are recording this before ROH Final Battle and before, naturally, the next couple episodes of Dynamite and everything. And, from the 12th onward, we aren't going to have that factored into our lists. But the way that I figured that makes the most sense is once we're done the year and it's actually January 1st, then when we do that next round of the hot tags, or maybe we'll end up doing like a dark cast about this or something. If there is any kind of an adjustment that we would need to do, like maybe World's End ends up being the best pay-per-view of the year by far or something, or there's like a new title change that switches up our best and the worst title changes or whatever it might be. If there is anything that we need to adjust, we'll just address that down the line. We'll retroactively leave a comment or something on this page on smarkoutmoment.com or whatever it might be. So for anybody's wondering, I'm going to release this sometime around the 20 something or other. I don't know exactly when. So whenever you're hearing this, it's, a week plus from now. And hopefully you had a good week. I don't know. So let's start getting into this with the way that we normally do things. We start things off with the entrances because that makes perfect sense. The best and the worst entrances of the year from All Elite Wrestling. And that factors in everything from one-time entrance that could be really cool, or of course really bad if you put it on the worst, or it could be just their regular entrance that they do, or it could be some other kind of twist on that. We can always kind of play around with these awards a little bit. And I've got a bunch of options. I've got actually 4 options for each, and I've picked one that I think I'm going to go with for best, and I haven't quite picked yet for the worst. But anybody have like a strong, they want to start best or worst?
Well, actually, Callum, do you have a strong one?
I only have one written down for worst, so I guess that's as strong as you can get, really, from that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really anything that I found too terrible for the most part from an AEW entrance standpoint this year. None that really definitively stood out apart from this one. And this one's kind of just a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's Soraya at All In.
Oh, that's a pretty good one, though.
It's one that I thought about.
I didn't think about that.
She came out to We Will Rock You by Queen. And the only reason I did that is because, well, first of all, everything involving Soraya at All In was a little bit of a negative. But I thought that it made Emi Sakura cry because she's the Queen person and she loves Queen. And there was just a video that was spiraling around for a little while of her just crying at the fact that she was coming out to a Queen song and Emi Sakura just wasn't even on the card.
I didn't even think about that option, but I like that a lot.
So my worst is also from All In. And it's also kind of tongue-in-cheek. But I think given the backdrop of everything that happened, we can all agree that Jack Perry coming out in that car at All In probably could have been saved, right?
I have Jack Perry down on my list as one of the possible options. Just the switch up with his usual theme. Thing. Yeah. Which I like that song, but it just doesn't fit him.
It definitely didn't.
Yeah. He is one of my options, but I don't think I'm going to necessarily go with him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, don't we all wish we could have just taken that one back?
What, Jack Perry?
Just Jack Perry come out in that car?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. See, at this point, with the way that Punk's been a fun topic to talk about in WWE, maybe the right thing happened. Can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, right? Yeah, or smashing some real glass.
That's right.
Is that your pick, though, Jack Perry?
Definitely my pick.
So here are the answers that I had written down. I wrote down cop-out answer, 90% of the roster. I couldn't tell you what the fuck is Aaron Solo's theme. But it's like, I don't really want to do the cop-out answers unless I have to. So there are three other ones, one of them being Jack Perry's theme. One of them being Danhausen's theme. I've never liked the Munsters. And that's that, basically. So it's like, oh, I don't like that anyway.
The Munsters is awesome.
I don't like it.
I used to binge watch episodes of the Munsters. They were so much. It's such a fun show.
I am also a fan of the Munsters. I'm going to completely disagree with you.
I'm Adam's Family all the way.
Oh, they're both great. Why choose one or the other? It's like WWE and AEW. Why can't you just like pro wrestling?
That's a good point. But for that matter, I never liked the song "The Monster Mash." So this is
you're just. There's a graveyard smash.
My favorite holiday is Halloween. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am. I'm fully aware of that. We got married on Halloween. So.
That's true. You did get there.
Yeah. But we didn't play the Monster Mash or the Munsters theme. But here's my actual pick that I'm going to go with. And I think we're going to start things off here with already a controversial thing that's going to upset people, especially because I like this song. Judas. I am so sick of Jericho walking around looking at the crowd with Judas playing when he's a heel or a face. It takes me out of it. I love the song. It's a great song, but the entrance is awkward now.
I kind of agree, but I think it's too much a part of the show and it's too fun.
It's just one of those, like, I'm going to upset people. I'll pick that one. You know? Realistically, if I had to say, like, what's the most, like, problematic or whatever, I probably would go with the Jack Perry one just because it doesn't fit him. But I feel like being a little spicy, so I'm going to go with Judas.
I think if you specifically went for the Jericho playing himself to the ring at all in, singing Judas, then maybe.
There you go. That's if I got to go with the worst of all that, then it's got to be that one.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah, so that even more so justifies it in my mind. But since I got something out there that I'm sure some people are going to be like, oh my God, I'm already mad at Tony, I'll give you my best to go along with this. And I wrote a couple good ones down. Big fan of Orange Cassidy coming out to Jane. That works so well, especially now that I finally watched What Hot American Summer this year, which I thought was really funny. I really liked Julia Hart's entrance from Wrestle Dream. And of course, naturally, as we go along here and we tell our picks and stuff, everybody has the right to like stop each other if they end up picking with their pickouts. I really liked MJF at Revolution, where he came out with the devil mask on and the masked orchestra was playing his theme. Thought that was really cool. But Swerve Strickland gets my pick. His song's catchy. He's got the dance to it. It's like a badass theme to come out to. I love it.
It's definitely up there. I think another one that came close to me was the Final Countdown first entrance at a
nice
Forbidden Door. And I also loved Hangman's entrance at Revolution. The special like Texas Deathmatch entrance. I thought that was really cool.
You're not gonna hear me complain about Final Countdown. It's one of my top favorite songs of all time. So,
but my overall best, because it was unexpected, and I think Tony was just flexing his wallet that day, has to be Sting and Darby Allin at All In, coming out to Metallica's Seek and Destroy.
That was a cool moment to see live, of course. Yeah, I had a few other ones in here. I had a House of Black at All In as a potential one because of the Bray Wyatt tribute.
Yeah.
With the lamp. Jay Cargill doing that sorority entrance in at Double or Nothing. Like that nice little like choreographed dance number to the ring. Adam Copeland's debut at Wrestle Dream. Technically an entrance.
Yeah.
Come down.
That counts.
Like a big moment. And then obviously both Bryan Danielson's Final Countdown things at both Forbidden Door 2 and at Wrestle Dream. But again, just a little bit biased, and also because I was there in the building to see it, I'm going for Will Ospreay at All In. If it was like for all of wrestling, my favorite entrance this year is Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom. But this was like a sort of a redux version of that, which is I love his theme is my favorite theme in all of pro wrestling. I absolutely love Elevated, but I even more so love the piano playing like version that he does before a big match. That there's like plays with the piano first of all. Also, his entrance at Forbidden Door 2 was also great with all of that video package that played beforehand of him just showing riots in all across of Canada because he'd been causing such a stir there before the match with Kenny, and then coming out to just have the match with him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to him being part of AEW permanently next year. Not
too far off. It's pretty much just going to be the end of or mid-February, right?
Revolution. Yeah, on the road to Revolution. So January, February time.
Nice.
He's there.
So we're going to transition over to the best and the worst clothing / attire / ring gear. Again, could be a one-time thing, could be what they regularly wear, anything that stands out as far as just like outfits. That's a big part of everything when it comes to, the Oscars has like a full show ahead of time dedicated to who are you wearing today? It's stupid as all hell. But in pro wrestling, it's a part of the package. So, it's part of the package, and immediately I'm just recalling the Big East package joke. So there you go. Reminder of that. Best and the worst clothing / attire. I couldn't think of a lot of people, to be honest, won this. And I had 2 people down for worst. I don't know who I'm going to go with. Maybe you guys might remind me of somebody else too or whatever. But I wrote down Chris Jericho on a regular basis because whenever he does like the Painmaker thing, I think it's awful. But I do kind of think I might be leaning a little bit more towards Eddie Kingston, but it's part of the charm. So I don't know if I can really give that the worst, if that's kind of a little bit of the gimmick, is that he's kind of slovenly looking with that.
So what you're telling us is that for the second award in a row, you're going to give the worst to Chris Jericho.
I'm leaning towards it, yeah. I'm going to dabble in giving him these. Maybe gets that joke. That's an old school joke there too, yeah. Yeah, you guys might remind me of somebody else, I don't know.
No, there's probably an unpopular one. I'm going to just say it. I understand it's part of the gimmick. I understand that it's, he's doing the best work of his career. Christian looks too good to be covering up his body. Like,
we're going to very much disagree on this one.
Yeah, why was he wearing the turtleneck? You look amazing. Just show off the body that you've built for yourself. Go ahead, tell me why it's your best gear, Callum.
We'll get to the best one in a little while. That's fine. It's definitely more on that side of things than the worst. I mean, I wrote down Brock Anderson, but I think that's just because Brock Anderson looks like shit. So that's just a general thing rather than just his attire. But
then again, like when you got like these people that come out there and they just have like trunks on, they all blend together and they could all collectively be the worst because it's like, man, you don't put any effort, do you?
I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan of Paul White on his comeback gear because of the basically wearing giant tree like tree trunks on his legs because his legs don't work anymore. So that wasn't a great look either. But and this one might be again either controversial or seem a bit weird. I'm going with Sky Blue's Scooby-Doo outfit.
Oh, I like the Scooby-Doo outfit.
But I like the Scooby-Doo outfit, but it's in the middle of when she's supposed to be transitioning into her evil goth character. Why is she wearing fucking Scooby-Doo outfit? Scooby-Doo outfit when she's
because the purpose of Scooby-Doo is that the monsters are real people all along.
No, it's the idea of I got this fancy Halloween outfit made. I'm going to wear it regardless of what my storyline is telling me to do. And no, as I say, it's a nice gear, and I think like if there was anything else involved in it, it'd be higher up in terms of like maybe even towards my best ones. But just for the context of the story that she is currently in and the character that she is currently portraying, it was a weird thing to wear.
I like that idea, that justification quite a bit. Not gonna pick it because still a thumbs up. But yeah, I'm looking through just to double check to see if anybody has any lists or whatever out there. Somebody brings up a good point in Sting just always wearing a t-shirt. I think I might go Sting.
Oh, in his last year, to give him a Worst Award.
Yeah, he's going to wrestle in 2024. He'll be factored into the end of the year awards in 2024.
Talk about some of the best ones then. I think that there's a very good chance I'm going to give it to the Christian Cage turtleneck wrestling gear, because I just think that it's, as I say, he probably does have a great physique right now, but this is so into his character that it's amazing. But there are other great ones. I mean, Tony Storm, I'm not a huge fan of the gimmick, but you can't deny that she looks the part pretty much all the time. The Guns have great gear.
Yeah, surprisingly.
They're almost up there for like best entrance for me, for just generally having a great entrance. But then Jade Cargill also has great gear most of the time, and then Julia Hart has great gear and a great aesthetic most of the time. And yeah, I was a big fan of Will Ospreay's like very flowing robes that he wore for All In as well, like the red, white, and blue attire that he put together.
Yeah, I've got Jade Cargill on here as a potential. I've got Julia Hart. I've got Sky Blue as a potential because they all look great pretty much all the time. I also have Jake Hager's hat.
We love that hat.
I think generally speaking, I would go Jade Cargill. She almost never misses.
So far, I've noticed that very close to your answers from last year. You did gave Kingston your runner-up for worst, and you did go basically Cargill best for everything she's done.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that stands to reason. I'm just gonna say maybe this is recency bias, maybe this is Edge bias. I like seeing Edge with the Sting and Darby face paint at
that was cool.
Full Gear.
Yeah, I did like that.
That was cool, yeah.
So what were the ultimate picks? I went with Cargill. You went
Christian.
I can't believe you really went with that as your best. I'm going Adam Copeland, Full Gear.
Alrighty, so I just noticed a trend here. We're going to go for a hat trick. Signature maneuvers.
Okay, so here's the Judas effect coming up now, so that's great.
The best and worst signature maneuvers, obviously highs and lows. The two that I have written down for the worst are the Judas effect and Eddie Kingston's Hurricane.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston's because at least the Judas effect is an elbow. The spinning back fist, that wouldn't hurt as much. I hate the Judas effect, though. I've hated it from the start. This has been a regular thing. So the only way that Kingston gets worse on this one, which, by the way, I like Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. It sounds like I hate them or everything. But, yeah, I'm being as fair as I can. I hate these, like, spinning moves like that. And the spinning back fist, come on.
I did give Kingston consideration as well. Because it's spinning back fist, it's silly.
No, it's fun.
I mean, yes, it is, but
do it for like a regular, just like in the match he hits it, not as a finisher.
In that same vein, no matter how much I love these people, the double clothesline in the era of 2023 is ridiculous as a finisher. It really is. People be kicking out of like Canadian destroyers off the top turnbuckle, but they can't get up from a double clothesline. I get it. It's fun. I'm not saying it isn't, but as a move in this time, I think it's a bit ineffective.
Is that the worst? Is that your worst one?
Yes, that's my worst. Double clothesline for Better Than You, baby.
Yeah, I have a few options. Like, I don't like the lethal injection because of this
tube flippy.
Well, it's just the setup for it. Just like it's a cutter, but he has to bounce off the ropes all the time, and it's like it's fine, but I just think that it's too much setup. I've had like Sky Blue's Code Blue because she very rarely hits it right. That's mainly more just on the fact that she can't really execute it as well as you'd want to. Also, there is a lot of setup to that as well. She has to like bounce off the ropes with the person doubled over. Then the two ones that really stand out to me are Ruby Soho's No Future. So I don't really like the Pele kick thing.
Oh, that's the kick. All right. I was just gonna say I don't even remember what her finisher is, but yeah, that kick's kind of weak.
But the one I'm probably going to go for is Jeff Hardy's Swanton Bomb.
Ooh.
Because he can't do it without hurting people anymore. Like he just lands just flat on someone's chest or diaphragm or anything like that, and it's just gone.
That's not going to be the first time that Jeff Hardy's name comes up on this podcast.
Yes, yes, very much so. Sometimes attached to his brother as well, but we'll
yeah.
That's a shame, but I think I might have to agree.
Yeah. Now, on the positive side of things, my best, I'm going to go Samoa Joe's Muscle Buster.
It ain't broke, don't fix it. I do.
It's great. It looks like it's impactful. It looks like it would hurt you in like 10 different ways. The dude's huge, so it's like if he lands on you in any way, yeah, it's going to hurt even more. Hell yeah. Like that looks like a finisher to me. Like big dude picked me up like a weird Amazon package and slam me down like he's a FedEx driver.
That's not my favorite Samoa Joe move. My favorite Samoa Joe move is when he walks out of the way of someone.
Oh yeah,
that is great.
Yeah, that's a really good signature move. Which, by the way, for anybody that's wondering about that, signature move doesn't necessarily need to be finisher. It's just signature move. So that you could count that if you wanted to. That's one of the best things that they do. I love that.
No, I love the red rum. I think Hook has really made that his own. I do like the Muscle Buster. I do think Adam Copeland doesn't have the best spear in all of wrestling, but he has hit better spears in AEW than he did in that last run in WWE. But overall,
real quick, who has the best spear right now, and why is it Braun Breaker?
Oh, he's so good. He splits you right in half. Overall, I think I'm gonna go with Bryan Danielson, and I was debating between the knee and the bell lock, but actually just the fact that Bryan can beat you and has continued to beat opponents in such a variety of ways. Like no matter what, he always pulls out something new. So I'm gonna say Bryan Danielson's variety and ability to finish opponents with many different moves. Kind of a cop-out, but I'm sticking with it.
His Bret Hart methodology.
Yeah, because like, what did he use to beat Okada? Wasn't it just like
series of elbows or something, right? Or
with a different kind of submission from?
It was basically almost a Zack Sabre Jr. type.
Yeah,
using his legs to attach both of them to stretch out both of the Okada's arms at the same time. So
I love that. I think that's super awesome. Other moves I would give a shout out to Darby Allin's suicide dive. Always, It is the best suicide dive in wrestling. Darby Allin's the coffin drop is a very wonderful move. I like Ricky Stark's spear almost more than Copeland's. Sting being able to do most of Sting's moves, also huge shout out. Lots of positives on the best move side.
Well, when you do a really good move, you might end up being on the best or coolest spot.
You don't want to hear my one, Tyler?
Oh, I thought you already picked. Sorry. Go.
I had listed down like things like Darby Allin Suicide Dive because I think I've typically gone with that one because it's just the greatest thing. But there are things like the Swerve Stomp is a cool move. I know it's a bit contrived because you have to sit up to hit it, but it still looks cool. It's weird that he's wearing a neck brace all the time now, but the End of Heartache is a fantastic finishing move. Just spinning them around and then slamming them both your knees into their back. That's great. Konosuke Takeshita, as much as I love Sami Zayn, hits the best Blue Thunder Bomb in the business. Like, he just gets so much height and elevation on it. And then there's a Will Ospreay Storm Driver that we saw for the first time at Forbidden Door 2, which is, obviously has the Storm Breaker, the spinning net breaker off of his shoulder, but I think that the Storm Driver, that's where he just dropped Kenny right on the back of his head. That's pretty gnarly as a move, and now he's kind of adopted into his arsenal. Actually, fuck it. The best signature move in all wrestling right now is Will Ospreay's Hidden Blade. So
I hard agree. Like, actually, you're making me think here because that move fucking rules.
So I'm gonna go with in particular, the flying Hidden Blade. The one where he's like leaping in the air to hit someone with it. And I've seen him do it enough times in AEW this year that it counts for this one. So,
even if you do it once, it still technically counts. Yeah.
Yes, I'll go with the Hidden Blade.
We might have to, at the end of these AEW awards, count how many are pro Ospreay. Got a feeling he's going to get a few more.
Well, he's had he's either won or had the nod for all three of the ones I've done so far. So
yeah,
we're on a good track record.
So let's move over to the best spot or coolest spot, whatever maneuver or situation or, whatever it might have been that made you go like, oh, wow. And then the worst or biggest botch, which made you go, oh, wow, that was bad. And this could be a variety of different things. It doesn't necessarily need to be like they jumped off of a ladder and either executed it or fell in their ass or something like that. So I had written down for the biggest botch, a couple different things. One of them just being the Dax Hardwood graphic I thought was really funny. For pure sake of just like, come on, man. You had a Freudian slip there when you were doing that. I wrote that down with a slash next to it of how many production errors have they had this year. But I think I'm going to give this to the Moxley Phoenix injury and Rick Knox not counting the pinfall.
I think I will probably echo that. I've got a few other ones that I've got listed, but that's probably the biggest one. Not only because it's just completely inexcusable how Rick Knox behaved in that scenario, but it's also that the botch that happened early in that match with like Phoenix injuring his back and Moxley being knocked loopy basically just changed the entire trajectory of the international title.
Mm-hmm. It could have been handled so better in so many different ways, and it's dangerous for people, and it just looks bad because the whole like the pinfall needed to be redone again and all. So all parties ended up having this all messed up.
You know what? I also want to just give a strong shout out to officiating in general. In AEW/ROH, there's so many little things of just like, for example, during the Edge and Christian match on the December 6th Dynamite, where I think it was Rick Knox or Bryce Remsburg, one of them, they were just out the entire time, and the minute Christian covers Adam, he's just like, I'm up, 1, 2, 3. It's like you did. Just little things like that with the referees, I really have grown to not love so much anymore. Like, at first I thought Aubrey was really good, but over time it's just like all the referees here are kind of meh.
Yeah.
And I do agree with how Rick Knox handled that match. And there's a point that can be made, arguably, that is the biggest botch of the year, but I think ultimately the biggest botch of the year might be CM Punk comes back to the company. Like it was almost DOA, you know? And
was he 8-ball chains?
he was not able or chains. But honestly, that whole run just seems to have kind of pushed back the entire division, the entire promotion. It led to something fun in WWE, sure, but like it felt so mishandled from almost the minute he came back on the first Collision. That's a really strong pick, and I almost want to go with it. But as I'm saying that, I just remembered I love you to death, Adam Cole, but you jumped off a ramp, and now you're out for an indeterminate amount of time because
that's a good pick.
Jumped off a ramp.
And that screwed up 2 different titles and months worth of programming. Yeah.
You guys know that, but wow, that was just maybe the epitome of like, well, I wish you would have just gotten off the ramp calmly and not done that.
Who knows what would have been different.
And the other ones kind of listed down of like mentioned CM Punk, but in terms of the actual thing that he did in ring this year, he hit the worst GTS of his entire career on Samoa Joe earlier this year. In terms of just absolutely missing him, it was the one where he came out as a fake masked wrestler,
the Golden Vampire.
Yeah, and just like there was just a terrible GTS, just absolutely got nothing onto Joe at all. I've got the Jack Perry real glass thing because that is just a botch in all design. And then there was the one that would probably go under the radar, but there was something earlier this year, very early in the year, with Willow Nightingale powerbombing Anna Jay off the stage.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Year.
No, that was right at the start of this year because it was one of Ty Mello's last matches before the pregnancy announcement was the street fight that she and Ruby had against Anna Jay and Ty Mello.
That is worth talking about because that was big.
And it took Anna Jay out for quite a few months as well.
Yeah.
I don't like saying anything negative about Willow because I know she wouldn't have meant it.
Willow is great, but that is worth
mentioning. I mean, people botch when they're good. People botch when they don't mean it. Yeah, it happens. Still make fun of them.
I almost hesitate to bring this up, but I don't know where else we could talk about it. The Canadian Destroyer that took out Dante Martin at Ring of Honor.
Oh God, yeah. I was forgotten about that.
It was one of the most gnarly injuries I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was horrible. Like I remember watching that in heel time, just seeing his leg just flopping around, like just unattached to anything. It's just that's disgusting.
I remember seeing that and immediately showing my wife because it freaks her out. Just being like, hey, take a look at this. Yeah, that's definitely one of those ones that I forgot that I didn't write that down, but if I would have written that down and remembered that, probably throughout the year I would have been like, what's going to beat this, you know?
I don't know if anything's going to beat Adam Cole for me personally, but I do have to bring this up. Maybe the entire handling of Ring of Honor.
Just a botch of a company in general when it comes to...
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, it seems mean, but because I feel like they are riding the ship as we head towards Final Battle.
Yeah, but has it been perfect? Absolutely not. But I think that because fundamentally, I just always go back to the mindset of this company wouldn't exist without this happening.
I do just want to give it the rightful mention of like it wasn't great. I hope it gets better, but I do want to at least bring it up as, hey, this could have been handled better, just all the way around.
Well, let's talk about some positives. Cool spots. I only had 2 written down, actually, and I know that I'm missing out on tons of things. I had written down Face of the Revolution ladder match spots, and then I eventually wrote down take your pick from the Texas Death Match at Full Gear and chose that one, because that was just like...
Was that too much for you?
A variety of like, this is cool, that's pretty neat. That's gonna get my win. Like that, they kicked ass in that match. That was great.
That whole match we might be talking about it a lot, actually. Definitely that. Anything Vikingo did, when he wrestled.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best in the world.
He's like a pinball. There's
I gotta give some love to CM Punk in the opposite of the GTS, hitting the Pepsi plunge to Samoa Joe. I think that was a really cool spot and a really cool callback, and might be the last time he ever uses that move ever.
That's gonna happen in the match against Rollins. That's totally gonna have to happen.
But you mentioned the Texas Death Match at Full Gear, and that visual of the blood pouring into Hangman's mouth is going to be looked at forever. I think that might be the coolest spot of the year.
I don't ever want to see anybody do it again, but it was very cool.
Yeah, I mean that's the abiding shot for me of that entire match. Which, I mean, fundamentally, that match was so great, and again, we will probably bring it up later on in this in these awards, but it kind of obscures the fact that Hangman had another awesome Texas Death Match earlier this year with Jon Moxley, with the final shot of him choking Moxley out with a chain hanging out from the outside the ring was another great visual as well. There were lots of great spots. I rewatched that match in the build up to this, and just seeing some spots like doing a curb stomp onto a brick, and just loads of other crazy stuff with barbed wire, like Hangman wrapping himself around with barbed wire and then doing a moonsault off the ring into the floor. It's crazy. But there was some other cool stuff. With Vikingo, the big one for me was the 630 splash through a table against Omega, which was big.
That was awesome.
MJF hit that diving elbow onto Bryan Danielson in their Iron Man match at Revolution. But then even cooler than that was he then did a tombstone pole driver onto the remains of the table afterwards, like a leaping tombstone through that stuff. That was just, again, another crazy thing. Anything that involved the bed of nails in the blood of guts match. It's just crazy to have bed of nails in a match, and it's just that was just fun. But I think the one I'm going to the two that I'm going between at the moment, because there's two that I haven't mentioned, but the ones that stand out are the All In Darby Allin doing a coffin drop onto a coffin, just exploding the coffin that like Strickland was in. And then the other one is, again, this might be recency bias, but Powerhouse Hobbs slamming Paul White onto a car.
It was nice that they didn't. The reason Paul White was there wasn't to turn on Jericho or anything else, but to put Powerhouse over. I do have to give credit to that.
So I think I might just give it to that, just because it is an absolutely crazy feat of strength. So, and gives Paul White something to like. That's kind of his AEW legacy right there, is him getting slammed on that car.
Nice.
Alrighty, so let's move over to recognition. Now, this is the biggest, the most underrated person on the roster and the most overrated person on the roster. So it's the biggest disparity between what people keep like loving and hating and where you stand on these particular wrestlers. I haven't picked either of these quite yet, but I have a couple people that I have in mind. And again, stop me if this is one of your picks, but I have on my most overrated options, I've got Aussie Open is on there because I just don't see anything that makes them stand out from 900 other wrestlers. And they won titles this year, and they keep like...
I don't think you're going to get either one of us to agree with you on that.
No, but that's part of the whole thing is like, I keep hearing how great they are, and I keep just seeing the same wrestlers that I see across the board. Like Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher, to me, they don't do anything that I don't see from 12 other people that are in like Ring of Honor or, you know, the AEW roster or WWE roster or NXT. Like they're guys. They're not bad, but people go nuts over them, and I'm like, I don't see it. I have CM Punk on this list. Everybody was talking about him. Oh, he's so great and all this other kind of stuff. And
he's fucking great. You're not.
Yeah. See, overrated.
Nope.
I've got Danhausen on this list for reasons that I've mentioned a million times. I don't find the character funny.
I'll argue with you. I might go with you on that one.
You might not on Darby Allin.
No, not on Darby.
Yeah.
I'd say if anything, he's underrated.
I think though, who I'm going to go with, and I'm going to really upset probably both of you, but at the very least, I'm going to upset Callum here. Jamie Hayter.
Wow, that is, that's utter bullshit, right?
Overrated. She's fine. I haven't seen anything great from her. And everybody acts like she's the savior of the division. And I'm like,
She is.
I'm like, if that's what the saving of the division is going to look like, I don't think I'm going to change my opinion about the women's division in AEW for this year. Like, everything she does is fine.
Okay, so there is a downgrade section, so I might save one of these names for that.
There's some crossover when it comes to those things, yeah.
Because I was going to say Miro, but he also might just work for downgrade. Because, like, Miro, at this point, I've almost lost any interest I have in seeing him compete. Like, he went from being a really fun character as the Redeemer TNT champion to being like, hey, he teamed with Darby and Sting and then disappeared for a year. And now he's kind of badgering his wife. And I'll say this right now, I don't know where it's going. I don't like that story at all. It actually makes me kind of uncomfortable because CJ said, things about him being a bit overbearing in interviews. And it just kind of makes me uncomfortable. But maybe that's the point. I don't know.
I'll spoil that. He's on my potentials, but he's not going to be my pick when it comes to that category. So it works a little bit more so, I guess, on downgrade, though, because I didn't put him on overrated because I don't see anybody going nuts over that story.
But for me, for most overrated, I think people are catching up to it, and I like him a lot, but not this year. MJF, dude.
I figured MJF will be at least one pick, if not both of your picks.
It's not doing it for me. So he's going to be my overall pick for overrated. But I do want to give a couple of shout outs and just say something real quick. Claudio, Keith Lee, and a bunch of these other people, some of them just aren't anywhere different than they would be if they were in WWE. Maybe Claudio, because he's getting a chance to fuck around with the BCC, and that's just fun to watch, always. But when I think of like Keith Lee and stuff like that, I'm like, maybe he's exactly where he would have been if he stayed with WWE. And it can always change, and I'm open to that, and I hope it does, of course. But I do want to bring that up because I think that's a huge problem.
And do you think people tend to forget that Keith Lee was fired? He didn't actually just leave the company out of his own volition.
I understand.
He was fired.
I do understand that, but I'm just saying in the sense that, like, people, we're talking about overrated, people acted like, well, he's going to get to come in now, and he's going to wear Kenny Omega, and he's going to do all these great things, and he's just sort of...
The potential hasn't been realized at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it can always change.
I'll put it this way. Keith Lee's one of my choices for potential overrated, and that's because he's not the guy from 2019. And I'm going to say, again, maybe controversial, I think he's been pushed to his level now.
As somebody who frequently will pick Keith Lee on like our mock drafts and all, which obviously go back and check out previous mock drafts if you're interested in that. And somebody who has him down on my like all-time fantasy card and thinks that he at one point in time should have beaten Brock Lesnar to win the championship at Mania type level. I kind of agree.
But there's other things. There's I would have a bit of an issue with the underrated overrated thing because who's doing the rating? And I think that fundamentally, if most people think that someone's good, they're probably good. And I don't think that that's too much of a wild statement to say. But I think that there's some people that are kind of pushed too heavily by the company for what I think their level currently is or what they are. I mean, there's tons of people like Billy Gunn shouldn't be a champion in 2023. as over as that thing got, he should not be a champion in 2023. He's too old and he's not that good anymore. Fundamentally, he wasn't that good in his prime, so that now it's not really not that great.
So,
Jeff Jarrett. What is Jeff Jarrett still doing? I knew there was a lot of fun stuff earlier in the year, but like now we're over a year in, and it's like, okay, now he's killing the company, or he's playing a part in killing the company.
I have him down as one of my most underrated.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I do, because I'm like, everybody hates Jeff Jarrett. I think Jeff Jarrett's great.
I don't have him down on either end. I think it's amazing that he's still doing anything, and I don't think that they've.
We should be doing it somewhere else. Do it somewhere that no one really cares that much. It's like he's just hanging on for the sake of it, and now he's like infiltrated the backstage stuff as well. The Hardy Boys are still used when they shouldn't really be on a mainstream wrestling show anymore.
Careful, Matt's gonna hear that and talk about it on the podcast, because he's been that's kind of his thing. I think they're building towards some kind of a heel turn, where basically the idea is people keep saying nobody wants to see the Hardy Boys, and he feels like, well, we're the Hardy Boys.
No, but I don't want to see that, because that means they're going to get pushed, and I don't want them to be pushed. I want them pushed out of the company, if anything else. Wardlow.
Oh, not a bad pick.
Good. Wardlow's a good option. There's other ones. I mean, I'm touring the women's side of things. Ruby Soho's deteriorated as a wrestler. Britt Baker's not very good in the ring anymore. Don't know what happened there, but whenever she does have an opportunity to wrestle, she's not that good. Saraya, of course,
good year for her.
Shouldn't have been the world champion at any point, but I guess understandable for the popularity side of things. But it's like she's not delivered in the ring. Sky Blue gets title opportunities constantly and is constantly pushed, and she has a lot of potential, but she just isn't there yet, and she's overexposed. Ty Valkyrie, I've never liked. Well, I'll say never liked Ty Valkyrie, but Ty Valkyrie in at this point in her career just is not worthwhile having around. But I'm probably, and again, this one hurts probably for the most to say, because of how much I revere this person overall. But Chris Jericho shouldn't be where he is right now. Like, Chris Jericho is the most overrated person from a booking standpoint. He should be very much middle of the card now. But you kind of can't, because of how important he is to the formation and the foundation of the company. But he very much feels like, like a Hogan in late stage WCW. So I don't know if it's overrated the right term. He's still going the ring. There's still a lot of good in Chris Jericho, and he does put a lot of people over, I think. But I'm starting to now understand why people think that even though he does put people over, he isn't really putting them over in the way they should be being put over.
It's more over by proxy.
Well, it's more of a case of like he's attaching himself to someone who is in the process of getting over, and then for some reason they're not on TV the next couple of weeks or months, and he still is. Even if he loses to them like 3 or 4 times in a row, he's still going to be in a prominent position. They may not be. Yeah. So yeah, I understand why people think that Jericho is getting too much TV time. So he probably is now reached the point where he's overrated.
Another one I want to say for that is the Acclaimed. When one of you said Billy Gunn, I was like, you know what? The Acclaimed, I think they're a great act. I really do. But this is a year where I kind of felt like, okay, we gave too much airtime to it. And where are the 6-man tag titles? And I'm not going to ever say that they're overrated, but this is the closest I've ever come to going, man, for me this year, the Young Bucks, it wasn't
I could
there.
see that. I could see that for sure.
It wasn't there for the Young Bucks. And I think maybe we're in a stage where whatever they do at a high level, appreciate it, because this was the first year I was like, oh, they might not be long for this world, and they might not be like long for like, doing the wrestling thing. I hope I'm wrong, and MJF is still my overall pick. But those are some names I did want to bring up as well.
So let's switch gears over to the most underrated, people that we don't think get enough recognition. I almost went with Samoa Joe because I do think that people kind of write him off, and I'm like, yeah, he could.
He made up for it.
Yeah, he could easily be the champion. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, never mind. He's fighting for the championships and all. But I'm gonna go Sammy Guevara because people still rag on Sammy, and I think he is one of the best people in the ring. I think he has an interesting enough heel character. I think that he has the potential, if they tweak a couple things, that he could be a good babyface. It's just they haven't quite figured out the formula yet. And as you can hear, there's some responses like that. And I'm like, no, Sammy Guevara would be one of those guys that I would want in my company for sure.
I'll say I don't disagree with the fact that he is a great wrestler and he's also a great character. I just don't know what you think that he should be pushed to. Do you think he should be world champion right now?
I think he should be in a spot where if he won the title, people would accept it.
Then he should be better at his job.
I love sassy Callum.
All the more reason why I'm picking him.
One of the most underrated ones on this podcast at the very least. So I might have to go with that one. I've had to change it and just thrust her in there. But I've got other people listed. People that Matt Menard.
He's great.
He's one of the best promos in the company. So I want to mention him there. Powerhouse Hobbs. I know he's getting his flowers to a degree now with the Don Callis family, but I still think that he isn't positioned as high as he should be. Brody King, again, he's doing great stuff at the Continental Classic, but he's clearly the top guy of the House of Black. I mean, I know it's Malachi Black's group, but he is clearly the best person in that group. Women's side, Athena, because she's languishing on Ring of Honor. She's thriving in Ring of Honor, but it's just on Ring of Honor when she should be more prominently featured on the quote-unquote main roster. Emi Sakura, because she's great and she's just kind of just using the gatekeeper role. I'd like to have some sort of story attached to what she's doing. Willow Nightingale, she won the Owen tournament, but they haven't really pulled the trigger on Willow yet, and they really should, because she's one of their best workers. She's one of their most over baby faces. I don't know why they haven't strapped her up with a title so far, because but she's one of the best they have. But the most underrated right now in AEW is Adam Page. He should be consistently. Well, I'll put it this way: he should be consistently in the world title picture, but that's just a given. He is, and I've said it before, and I'll say it over and over again. He is the main character of AEW, and he has felt like a side character for so long this year. But he should be. I don't say like he has to be the focus of every major story. Of course, I'm not saying that he should just be constantly the biggest story in AEW, but everything that he should do, everything he does and does not do should matter in the grand scheme of things. I think there's been too much this year of him just being, attached to the Elite, but not really being the big story of the Elite, because the big story of the Elite is Kenny Omega and Don Callis's rivalry. So he's just kind of involved there, but not a big part of it. And the Swerve Strickland thing was to get Swerve over, not to get him over. So I think we need to see a revival of Adam Page being the guy in AEW again.
I think you will. I do. I think of all the people in the Elite, he's going to be the one to rise up, because say what you will, he's one of the only ones that just consistently goes with the flow. It has definitely felt to me like post last year's All Out, the Bucks have kind of stayed within their safety zone. Kenny's kind of branched out a little bit, but even I think I would never call Kenny Omega underrated, but I would say not utilized in the position that I would rather see him utilized in, because I think if he's only got a couple of years as a full-time guy, we need to be really having him in some big time matches. But I do agree with what you're saying about Hangman, where he is their Sting, and right now he feels like Sting in '95, where there's too much focus on Hogan and Savage, and it's like Sting's right there, and you're not doing anything with him. And hopefully in 2024 they start to do stuff with Hangman again. For my underrated pick, he was in the world title match Full Gear, and he's not my pick, but I do want to say I thought Jay White would have been a little more
a bigger deal.
Final boss tier, and he hasn't been. I'm still hoping he wins this Continental Classic, even though I know a lot of people are pulling for Swerve. I thought Konosuke Takeshita would have a belt by now. I thought, this would have been a bigger year for a guy like Bandito, but I think he's injured, so that might be the reason why. I think I might have to go with Daniel Garcia.
Another good pick.
Here's a guy who beat Bryan Danielson last year and was already in the midst of this, like, I'm a wrestler, not a sports entertainer. And then they let that story just play out for way too long, and it got stale. And now he's in the need to reboot himself again. And I think that it's damn unfortunate, because he's a guy who should be your fightingest TNT champion. Like, you're fighting international champion. Like, that Orange Cassidy run that nobody expected from Cassidy could have gone to a guy like Daniel Garcia. And I think it's unfortunate.
Going back to the big botch things, not going with Daniel Garcia, having the "no, I'm a pro wrestler" feuding with Jericho thing, that should be up there.
They didn't do it, did they?
They were just like, no, we don't want to do that. And it's like, that's the most obvious story in your face. Yeah. Is he your ultimate pick?
Yeah, he's my ultimate pick. I'm going to go with Garcia.
So on a similar wavelength, improvement in a wrestler or the opposite, biggest upgrade, biggest downgrade from a previous year. Pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we need to really dive into explaining that a little bit more. Wrote down a couple options for downgrade. Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
Just
yep.
MIA the entire year. Miro, we mentioned before. To an extent, Ethan Page, he wasn't a high up person, but just seems like they perpetually did nothing with him, and then he got like lower and lower on the card. You can make the argument about Jack Perry, I think. Guy was on a huge upward swing, and now he's not around. The two people that I was really debating the most about, though, CM Punk was one of them, just for the way that things played out. But I got to go Britt Baker.
Yep. I'm going to be right there with you.
Is it really true that she didn't have a minute's worth of promo time this year?
Probably not, because she probably did some backstages, but she was not in the ring cutting promos. She was not the focal point of the division. As Callum said, when she is wrestling now, it feels a step off.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't a strong year for Baker, and I think that, kind of like Hanger, she needs to find herself again.
She started out in the company as like the focal point. Very quickly became like, oh, there's problems here. She's not wrestling at the level that we all kind of think that she could be. Skyrocketed up to the focal point, top of the line, and right back down to a nosedive.
I think just because of where she stands in the women's division, she needs to be doing more. There's very few women in this company that are over, and Britt, for a while, was the face of the entire division. And she just hasn't done much this year. I don't know why that is ultimately.
So there's obviously plenty to choose from, including the names that you've just mentioned. I was going to list off some of the ones that I had put down. Was Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Best Friends.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Dark Order,
Yeah.
Keith Lee, of course. Santana and Ortiz.
Big good options there.
Death Triangle, I'd argue.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially with Pac, has unfortunately been very unlucky with injuries throughout this entire year. Layla Gray lost her purpose really, because as soon as Jake Target went, she just disappeared. Wardlow
Is she
again.
Still on the roster page?
I think so.
She still does stuff for Ring of Honor. So.
Yes, she is still on the roster page. That's good, because I agree completely.
Wardlow's, again, his popularity has dropped significantly and just his overall presence. But the one that I'm going to go for is every member of the Jericho Appreciation Society apart from Chris Jericho.
Hard to argue.
Yeah, I can see it.
The whole purpose of, I don't say like the whole purpose, as if I was in the meeting, but I would assume like one of the ideals of having the Jericho Appreciation Society would be eventually that one of them would either rise up and take on Jericho, or that they would eventually all, benefit from being associated with one of the biggest legends in modern wrestling history. But fundamentally, like, Jericho leaves to be feuding with Don Callis and be part of this whole the tag team with Kenny Omega. But now that Sammy's injured, he's supposedly part of the Don Callis family, but now his position feels like it's been usurped by Powerhouse Hobbs. Then the rest of the JAS are just like in nothing tag team match for the most part. Daniel Garcia, as you've already mentioned, is now on a journey of rediscovering himself through the Continental Classic. But then, like, now, Cool Hand Ange is part of a romance angle with Ruby Soho. Like, Matt Menard's now part of like trying to both stop Daniel Garcia from dancing and also preventing Ange from getting with Ruby Soho for some reason. And then Jake Hager doesn't have his hat anymore.
So fun, Daddy Magic.
And Anna Jay's kind of nothing anymore, and obviously Ty Mello's away for other reasons. Yeah, for other reasons. So I think that, I think that overall, being part of the Jericho Appreciation Society did nothing to elevate any of the members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, apart from Jericho just staying where he is.
I guarantee you, if you ask somebody, they'll tell you, well, it was Sammy, and he got hurt. Things happen sometimes. But there is the matter of there was 4 other people in the group. Especially, look, I know nobody cares about Jake Hager / Jack Swagger in 2023, but he had a pretty good role, cozy role, as long as Jericho needs a heater, Jake Hager's got a spot. And ever since that's kind of gone by the wayside, there hasn't been much use for Jake Hager. So that's a very good pick, Callum. There's strong reasons for a lot of those people. Because Tony said Britt Baker so early, I just want to throw out some other ones. In a lot of ways, I'm going to say FTR, in the sense that it feels like they were doing a lot and then suddenly their popularity plummeted. I don't know if it's because of the friendship with Punk or whatever, but it seems like people aren't as stoked to see FTR as they were even 6 months ago. Like something just randomly happened where suddenly people don't care for FTR, and that's interesting to me. I'd also say, AR Fox looked like he was going to be set up for this thing and then just dropped off the face of the earth. Action Andretti ended last year with a win over Chris Jericho and just kind of went to Ring of Honor. Lots of little stuff like that.
Well, on the upgrade side, a couple different people had a major upgrade this year. Athena being one of them. Not my pick, but, honorable mention. Eddie Kingston is really high up there on my list. I'm not entirely sure. I might end up going with Eddie Kingston. Chris Statlander beat Jade Cargill, won the TBS championship. It's pretty great. Orange Cassidy is a major contender for big upgrade to me this year because he became like, okay, I really liked Orange Cassidy from the very start, but now everybody's on board with, yup, he can go in the ring. He's more serious of a contender. Christian Cage is a really good pick for this.
Strong pick.
The Guns.
Yup. Strong picks.
Strong pick. And also Swerve Strickland. Another major upgrade. All of these people could be picks. I don't know who I'm going to go with, to be honest.
So I was going to go with Swerve. And then I remembered that last year for Downgrade, I had to break my own heart and say Adam Cole. But he rectified that this year and headlined Wembley and was a huge part of the storyline. Still is, even now that he's injured again, unfortunately. So I'm going to say Adam Cole got an upgrade back to where he should have been when he walked in the door.
Yeah, I have quite a few people potentially listed for this one. Got most of the people that you've already mentioned: Cassidy, Strickland, Christian Cage, The Guns, and Juice Robinson as well, adding into that. Samoa Joe is way more position now. He's basically like equal to the world title almost in certain ways. The Kingdom and Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong definitely, because he was in a wheelchair in NXT for most of 2022. Now he's in a wheelchair.
But he's
on TV. But he's on TV all the time at the very least. Like Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Sky Blue. They're all like in higher level positions now than they were this time last year.
Julia Hart, very good pick for that. Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking of someone, and again, maybe it's just because I want to mention this guy, because all the other ones are definitely very much deserving, and probably in my head, I'm thinking either Christian Cage or Orange Cassidy being the rightful winner. But part of me just wants to go with this guy because just the transformation of where he was, maybe not just even last year, but like several years ago, where he kind of now is today in AEW. I'm going to go Big Bill.
It's a good pick, yeah.
I think that like to come now into AEW and be a tag team champion, to be like so effective in his role, a great promo, great big man in the ring, like a great foil for Ricky Starks as well, to just be a good partner for him as well. Just to think that like so many years ago, I just thought, where's this guy gonna end up, or is he ever going to get back into this? And the struggles that he's very publicly said that he's dealt with over time, and the way that he's managed to transform and be in the position where he is now, a champion in the second biggest promotion in North America. I think it's I think it says a lot to the strength of his character.
I was like, when we could talk about the positives like that to counterbalance all of our, wow, this person had a terrible year and all. See, we're a good balance of those kind of things. Positives and the negatives. Which, reminder, let us know the positives and the negatives of Smark Out Moment. Vote on the 2023 fan feedback survey and tell us what you think we did great, what we could improve on, everything heading into 2024. That's kind of your own little end of the year awards in some ways. I think I'm going to go Eddie Kingston for my pick for upgrade. Guys got 2 championships right now, and it's technically in a tournament where they could have won a triple crown thing with that. It's a big upgrade. Good for him.
That is fair.
Now, ring work, and we could save mic work. We'll do ring work and focus on that, and then instead of combining these to get a little too confusing. Ring work is as self-explanatory as it could be. And I have my runner-up is Jeff Hardy for worst. But I'm going to go Trench.
I'm sorry, motherfucker. When did you wrestle a match?
He didn't wrestle. He didn't have a match.
You're going to hear me bring up Trench a couple times.
Am I? When the fuck when did he do anything? I watch a lot of wrestling week to week, but I don't recall seeing Trench at all.
I forgot Trench existed, so he probably won't even. No, he's not going to come up in any of my stuff.
Gosh, I don't want to dogpile on Jeff Hardy. You know, it's.
Go ahead. It's better than Swanton bombing him.
I'm just so glad he's pelty.
Around.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna dogpile.
So what you're saying is your real answer is Jeff Hardy, but you feel bad that we don't want to make him a 3 time vote on this.
Well, potentially, but no, I'm gonna actually say I'm just not a big fan of anything that, from an in-ring standpoint. I think Danhausen's a great character. I don't like his in-ring stuff. I think this was really a year where it kind of feels like it was crap or get off pot time with Lance Archer. I don't know if he's ever going to be what he could have been in the beginning of the year.
He's Crush.
Yeah.
He's modern day Crush.
He sure is, actually. I wouldn't have expected to talk about Crush today, but here we are. No, but
that's the second Disciples of Apocalypse thing on this episode.
Yeah, what the fuck's going on with you? No, but I think I'm gonna go worst overall in ring work, and I like the guy, but I never want to see Jeff Jarrett get another title match in AEW. He does a lot of great things, and I'm glad he is still going. Never get me wrong, I love me some Double J, but he was overexposed this year.
So I had 6 names written down. 3 men, 3 women. Well, technically 4 men and 3 women, but I'll get to right. That's still 3 and 3 in a little while. But 3 women I had written down were Ruby Soho, who's deteriorated this year, Anna Jay, who again I think has deteriorated this year in ring, and Ty Valkyrie, who I just don't think has been good since 2020, 2021. And then on the men's side I have Billy Gunn, because he's having to be carried by 2 younger guys to just do his odd few spots. Then the Hardy Boys as a duo, because Matt should not be blameless in this as well. He's definitely definitely past his peak, well past his peak in terms of in-ring stuff. But the one I'm probably going to go for is, and it seems a bit harsh because he's new and I think he's young, and so it's just know that he'll eventually get better, but it's Gravity.
Yeah, that triumvirate of Gravity, Komandar, and
Vikingo.
They're really good, but the problem with them, you bring up the Hardy Boys. The biggest problem with the Hardy Boys right now is people want to see the Hardy Boys be the Hardy Boys, and it's they can't, and I worry that guys like Gravity and Vikingo and Komandar, who are struggling now to do some of the amazing feats that they can pull off, are going to fall into that trap.
But it's I know you're bringing this up. I would not put Gravity in the same conversation as Komandar, and I think both Komandar and Vikingo are awesome. They're both absolutely fantastic in the ring for the most part. Gravity is so far behind them. He is.
That is true. I think
he's weighted down compared to.
He's also more character.
he's weighted down.
That's
Do you think he walks around backstage and he doesn't know Pac's name? Because Gravity forgot.
I gotcha.
But I'm remembering again, it was a recent match. There was a tag team match on Collision. It was House of Black versus Gravity and Commander. And basically every time Gravity was in the ring, a spot was botched or something went wrong because they just couldn't seem to work around him. He's very, very green, and they're giving him opportunities, but I just don't think he's ready. He's perfect for Ring of Honor. He's not ready to be on either a Dynamite or a Collision or even a Rampage at this point.
So you're saying it's hard to work around him because he drags you down?
I mean, I didn't say that. I didn't say that because I know better.
I should have made a digging a trench comment. I didn't think about that at the time.
What's wrong with you in Trench? I don't understand this.
Oh, I'm going to mention Trench again. But not on the best ring work by any means. Take your pick from a lot of different people. There's some really great people in the ring here, but I'm going to go Orange Cassidy on this.
He had a really good year. He had a really strong year. I hope to God this was the year that he stays main event where if he dips below main event, it's very, very upper mid card. He's a tremendous wrestler. He had the best title reign I think this company's produced. Just period.
Spoiler alert.
That being said, Bryan Danielson kind of stamped his legacy this year. And he had every right to not even leave WWE. He could have stayed there forever. He had every right to phone it in this company, and it still would have been great because he's Bryan Danielson. He has taken it upon himself to show you why he's the best wrestler in the world. He has, continued to wrestle despite broken forearms and fractured orbitals. He continues to improve his promo game to levels that, a lot of people probably haven't seen from him. It's Bryan Danielson. He had the best year.
If he's not a pick, he's at least a runner-up, I would assume, on everybody's list.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of options. I would say on the women's side of things, the ones that I picked out were Athena, Willow Nightingale, Jamie Hayter, and Toni Storm. Just think that they're obviously a higher level than pretty much anybody else in the division. But realistically, the other options are there's so many great ones: Cassidy, Danielson, Omega, Adam Page, MJF, Darby Allin, Ricky Starks. They all had really great years in ring.
You're going John Silver, aren't you, buddy?
I mean, Will Ospreay wrestled in AEW this year, so it's
damn sure did.
But I don't really want to go with Ospreay because he's not full time AEW just yet. And as I say, that he had a litany of great matches in AEW, a good half dozen great matches in AEW this year. All matches that he has are great, and he is the best wrestler in the world right now. But just for an AEW standpoint, I'm gonna go with Konosuke Takeshita.
I should have seen that coming, but I did not.
I think Takeshita's just he will be what's well, at least I'd say will be. I can't really predict in the future, but just based on what he is now, he'll be what to AEW what Okada was for New Japan in certain ways. I think that he could be this sort of this beacon of a strong style, but still having a lot of Western influence and the Japanese influence, and combine it together to create an absolute megastar if they treat him correctly. And I say I've never seen a bad Takeshita match, so I think that his level, his floor is higher than a lot of people's ceiling.
That's a good way of phrasing that. A mic work, just pure talking, just the whether or not they can portray their characters in a great way, if they botch the stick work, pretty self-explanatory. Again, here's my one cop-out answer for this section of the awards. Worst? Almost everybody.
What?
So many people just can't cut a promo in AEW.
That is just, for someone who watches WWE, that is just such a bullshit answer.
Oh, so many people in WWE are on the list too. People suck at promos these days.
I would say in my list, I've got 6 people written down for worst, and I've got about a dozen people written down for best. So I think there are more good promos in AEW than bad, just from my perspective.
Who do you got on your list?
All right, so worst ones. Here's one that you're gonna like. Sammy Guevara's got one of the worst promos in AEW. That's why he can't be the top guy or be world champion, because he can't cut a good promo, and that was heavily exposed in the actual world title feud that he was in this year. Same can be said of Jack Perry. Not a great promo, and being a heel hasn't actually improved that promo that much either. QT Marshall, Just a bit like he's just too over the top when he was talking for the most part. And then Wardlow just doesn't have the second gear in terms of promo ability. Just think that he's lacking there. Anna Jay is too robotic. But Sky Blue is probably the worst promo in AEW, I'd say. Like, I'm just trying to listen to her talk. She just is so monotone. Like, I don't see a lot of either passion or enthusiasm or a lot of a second gear other than just, her just talking normally in her slightly deeper voice. That's kind of the level that she's at, and she probably needs to have someone talk for her at this stage.
Here's my disclaimer. You're getting the best cop-out answer from me that exists. I think there is plenty of people who have improved on the mic. Sure, I actually think Sky Blue's getting better. I think she'll find herself. Julia Hart's gotten better. Harley Cameron is annoying, but that's on purpose.
Yeah.
But a couple promos happened this year, and I can say it. Ric fucking Flair.
Ooh,
that's a good option. Yeah,
that is really good. Do you want to make that a 3%?
I mean, I might want to make that a 3%.
Because I'm fine with adding him down as like the standout for that.
Yeah, Sky Blue's like bad, but like she might get better. Like Rick's obviously never going to get any better than he is right now. So,
and we're wrestling fans. In no era should we be putting Ric Flair on the worst promo list, but Ric Flair won't get out of Ric Flair's own goddamn way. So you don't tell people. First of all, on the promo that I caught that aired, he was rambling. And then you don't tell people that you want to invite 18 to 28-year-olds to your hotel room at the age of 74.
And then respond on Twitter by being like, "Oh, if you don't like it, I can just leave."
It's not great. Sadly, Ric Flair is my worst promo of the year.
Now, as far as best, there are I mean, Callum, you said you had like about a dozen or so people on the best. Like, there are definitely people that stand out as like great promo people, and I'm sure that there's some crossover here on my list and on your list too. You got anybody that you can mention yours? If you're missing somebody, I'll mention mine. But
okay, well, I mean, there's some of the ones I've got written down. Some ones that definitely won't win, but I think are underrated. I think Athena, for her stuff in Ring of Honor, has probably been the best women's promo alongside Toni Storm, because, again, not a huge fan of the character, but I can't deny the fact that she's putting her all into it. Mark Briscoe's a great promo. There's no one who cuts a promo like Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, in his own style, it works really well.
And then there's some of the obvious ones: Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Eddie Kingston, Daddy Magic, Juice Robinson and Jay White. Again, you could probably put a lot of Bullet Club Gold, but those two in particular are just so much fun. And Adam Page is great, and Ricky Starks, of course. It's not going to MJF, my one. So that might be the one that you decide to go with.
He's on my list, but he's not the one I'm actually going to pick.
Have I mentioned the one you're going to pick?
Not yet.
Then I'm going to make my pick as saying that Christian Cage is the best promo.
He is my pick.
Yeah.
You also didn't mention another person on my list, Don Callis.
I'm not super into Don Callis at the moment in terms of his promo stuff. I think he's taking up too much time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Christian, like, or everything Christian says, I'm all ears for. He's the best talker. Actually, I want to add another thing that might work as well. Again, it wouldn't be the winner, but just an honorable mention. God, Adam Copeland's so much better in AEW promo perspective than his sitting with the mood lighting in WWE.
I know a lot of people are still like crapping on Adam, and they're like, "Oh, he's too. He thinks he's too acting. He's too low budget theater." But I think this has really worked out for him. I can't wait to see when he mixes it up with someone that isn't Christian, because right now he's leaning heavily on Christian and their whole history. I can't wait to see when he's mixing it up with other people. I'm not going with Christian. He's high up there. He's doing the best work of his career. I'm gonna just I'll keep it short and sweet. Can't give it to him in WWE this year because it's only been 3 promos deep and they haven't been great. CM Punk, when that guy talks, you care, you listen. It becomes discourse for the next 72 hours, no matter what the fuck he says. CM Punk is must-watch promo. I think they're already trying to lean into it too heavily in WWE, where it's like he hasn't said anything yet, and they're like, mic drop moment. Oh my god. But in AEW, specifically his first promo back on Collision, was some of the most compelling TV because he came back and was just like, screw you, David Zasloff says I'm worth $1 billion. You know, like everything he says matters. So I'm going with CM Punk, and I think that his promos are something that company was benefiting from greatly.
Tell me what I'm telling lies.
I love the report that came out earlier today when we were recording this. There was that Dave Meltzer was saying that the talks about who's getting Raw now in the TV deals have gone up. Like the talks have added to another bit, a lot more intensity and a lot more ferocity since Punk got signed.
I love that.
Good. That's how it should be. Yeah.
Whether people like it or not, and I know, look, I saw some people like, oh my god, Ross should be doing a 3.5 with Punk if he's so great. Whether people like it or not, Punk is he's the guy right now. He's a draw right now. And he had a whole ass show in this company that we're talking about built around him, and it was gonna be the Punk show Collision. So he's the man, and he cuts some great promos.
It's a shame that they didn't just call it Clobber in time. Different rights issue. We have one more set to talk about for the technical skills in AEW. And that is the best and the worst match of the year. One of the biggest categories that we have on our end of the year Smarkies. Another self-explanatory type thing. And another thing to preface, I have not seen so many matches this year, if you just count pretty much all of Ring of Honor and then pretty much all of Rampage that I haven't watched this year. I haven't been watching Collision, and there are some episodes of Dynamite that I haven't watched, like this, the previous week when I was in Orlando. Didn't watch any AEW or WWE television that week, so for all I know, the best or the worst match could have happened around then. But for the most part, I've been trying to pay attention. If anybody says something was really bad or really good, then I would go back and watch those particular things. And I only have one match written down for the worst match of the year. So maybe there's matches that I missed out on that people have in their mind or something. But right now, the only one I have is Anna Jay versus Britt Baker, House Rules.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember. The memories are coming back now. Yeah, that might have to be it.
Now, did you see that whole match in its entirety?
I'm sure I did when it happened. I honestly don't remember too much about it now since it's been so many months ago. But I've watched... I know I had to at least watch it because I wouldn't have just put it down there without, like some other matches I've heard are bad, but I didn't see them, so it's like I can't really mention them. But I can't tell you anything that happened during the match. Now that this was like March or something, right?
I can't remember exactly when it happened.
And it was summer, so
like April, May, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around that time frame.
I think it was later than that because that was when Anna Jay came. There was one of her first matches back from injury after the Willow Nightingale thing.
Looks like it was March 18th. No.
Okay.
Yeah, March 18th. So, but yeah, that's the only match I had written down.
It wasn't great, but since I can't recall the last time I've seen it in full, I will say a match that I did watch and I was excited for that completely let me down, and that's Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing.
That's very high up on my one.
Yeah, just like you guys know how much I love those guys. I was looking forward to this so much, and it delivered almost the exact opposite of what I was looking for, and they kind of never did it again. So it just was like a one and done that was really awkward, and I didn't like it.
Just picturing the horse from Nickelodeon. No, sir, I didn't like it.
So I have a few ones written down. So obviously Adam Cole, Chris Jericho is one of the options there. Tony Storm versus Hikaru Shida from Full Gear. The whole dinner plate and like in the singlet spot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah.
That could have been one of the worst botch things too.
Yeah, a few other ones like Britt Baker versus Ty Valkyrie from Dynamite was a bad match. There was Hikaru Shida and Ruby Soho Dynamite as well, which wasn't very good. That was like one of the ones that really just shone a light for me of how much Ruby is kind of just not there at the moment in ring. Another one just for pure disappointment: Jungle Boy versus Sonata at Forbidden Door 2. The IWGP World Championship match, and I don't know if I was expecting anything great, but the fact that they just went out there, just did like 13 minutes of absolutely nothing, and then just left it afterwards, it just kind of shows that, you know, these are two very kind of disappointing people throughout the course of the year. Sonata in particular, just how bad his title run has been.
My review of that apparently was nothing I'll remember in a month, and I don't remember anything that happened in it. So I was right.
And then another one I remember, the MJF versus the Righteous from Wrestle Dream. That's like you may not be the biggest fan of the Righteous, but fucking hell, they got buried 6 ways to Sunday in that match against MJF, that 1-on-2 handicap match for the Ring of Honor tag titles. But the worst of the year, and I'm surprised that I'm going to be the first and potentially only person to mention this, Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match.
Oh, that's right.
All right.
What a pile of shit that was. What the fuck were they thinking?
Now, I will say that is one of those matches that I didn't see the full match of, so that might be why I didn't write it down.
And in fairness to me, as I've mentioned several times I watch enough of this that unless it's really, really good, it no longer sticks in the brain. But my God, now that you've said it, yeah, that sure was something. That was not great.
Just an absolute abomination of like some like recorded stuff as well as some in-ring stuff, but it's just like, yeah, it's obviously it's Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett trying to have a singles match in 2023. It's like, I don't know, if you're going to do that, then you can't make it like this big important deal that they tried to make this match out to be. And I'm not entirely opposed to some of the collaboration stuff that they do, but this was, not it for me.
Yeah. That's you know what? Now that we're talking about it, let's talk about some of the other thinkeroonies that have been in this Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt stuff. Like, I didn't like Lethal versus Kingston. I thought it was embarrassing to Ring of Honor that they were like the first match on the pre-show and you just see a bunch of people filtering in. And like, look, you can say whatever you want about Jay Lethal. He's not what he used to be, but this match could have meant something, and it was just sort of like, blah, it was there. Jeff Jarrett, Eddie Kingston, and the Memphis concession stand. Well, that wasn't a concession stand, was it? It was something akin to it, you know, like that was a match that happened, and Satnam Singh helped Jeff Jarrett pin Ring of Honor champion Eddie Kingston. But yeah, some of that stuff, not great.
Thankfully, good matches happen this year as well. Lots more options that are on there. Stop me if it's your pick, but here are the things that I had written down. Bryan Danielson versus MJF, Revolution, 60-minute Iron Man match. Kenny Omega versus Vikingo on the March 22nd episode of Dynamite. The Four Pillars 4-Way from Double or Nothing. MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. The Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay match from Forbidden Door.
That's close.
I've got MJF versus Adam Cole from All In. I've got Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. from Wrestle Dream.
Again, yeah.
And I've got the Texas Death Match.
Oh man, there's
there's so difficult ones to choose from because like Page and Swerve was just out of this world crazy, but also Page and Moxley was a great match from Revolution. Like, and Page had two of the greatest death matches I've ever seen. There's like Anarchy in the Arena as well. It's tons of fun this year as well.
Surprised I didn't get Tony's worst entrance for the Wild Thing and the singing of Wild Thing.
Like the best TV match this year for me, for my money, is FTR versus Bullet Club Gold from Collision. That's
at least I'm debating between that and the Texas Death Match. That match was so much fun.
The other match I had listed down as potential best match of the year was Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks from Wrestle Dream, the strap match.
Oh, you mean All Out?
All Out. So yeah, sorry, got Wrestle Dream written down there. But yeah, that was.
And then I'm surprised you haven't said it yet, Callum. Kenny Omega MJF on Collision. Really good match.
I didn't have it listed as a potential one. It was a very good match, but like it's not one that I did a match of the year against all these other ones. I mean, just based on because I did try and rewatch. I did go and rewatch some of these ones. I think that like Ospreay and Omega is great, but it's kind of I don't say devalued for me, but it's slightly worse from my perspective than the match they had at Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm not going to go with that as the match of the year. I'd make an argument that I could go for Ospreay versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom because one of them works for AEW. Now they both technically do. But at the time, one of them worked for AEW. Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. is the best version of technical wrestling in a match that I've ever seen. But I think just overall, I'm going with MJF versus Bryan Danielson at Revolution, 60-minute Iron Man match. That was just pure drama throughout that entire thing. It's just so well put together.
You know, I'm gonna go with the Texas Death Match because I think there's a lot of more iconic visuals that'll live in the memory. But I do want to say again, glad you went and watched that FTR Bullet Club Gold match because that was the best match maybe ever on TV.
Alrighty, everybody. That is at least 1/6 of our awards down.
Did you say what your best match was?
Oh, actually, I didn't really pick, did I?
No.
I probably would lean towards MJF Danielson Revolution.
Nice.
That was that was the first match of the year that I was just like, oh, wow, that's going to be hard to beat. And I don't really know. I have to go back and probably watch the other ones and compare. But if I remember correctly, when I wrote down like the Four Pillars match, I remember being like, wow, I really, really like that, but it's not as good. You know what I mean? And like, oh, Vikingo versus Omega. I really, really like that, but it's like going to beat the other. Like, so I think that it's probably MJF Danielson. Yeah. But if you agree or you disagree, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments or whatever fashion that it is that you are chiming in on that. Not only are we going to be coming back around to technical skills awards with the WWE side of it, but we're also going to be coming back with the writing awards section of AEW because we've got plenty more categories to get into, everything from catchphrase and slogan to the pay-per-view of the year, best and worst, of course. Eventually, we're going to have the performer side of it where we start getting into a deeper dive of like the best and worst heels and faces, the male and female wrestlers, eventually culminating with the ultimate best and worst wrestler of the year for WWE and the AEW side of things. So lots and lots more of the end of the year awards for Smark Out Moment coming your way. If you are listening to this on the audio only stream, we'll be back in a moment. If you're listening to this on the video side of it, then we're going to get some plugs out of the way here. I'm going to cut these from the other side, but remember, as always, to hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed, ring that little notification bell, double check about the join button or the Patreon or the thanks button. Help us out on the monetary side of things there. And of course, check out everything from fanboysanonymous.com. Go to fanboysanonymous.com for that. You'll see links all over the place for all those Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon type stuff there. Everything under A Mango Tree you can find under amangotree.com. That's kind of the whole point. Like, follow, favorite, share, subscribe, all that good stuff for all that stuff, including me at Tony Mango. And follow Rob and Callum.
Yep, follow me everywhere at DeFelice. You can check out my work on Fightful and check out Callum.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out the power rankings over on smarkoutmoment.com. And also, you can follow the Fantasy League there as well.
I'm assuming that by the time this is coming out, that lots of things have changed, and I am a million of points ahead. Let's see if I can manifest it. Yeah, I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to have my fingers crossed. But yeah, we will continue on the year-end awards in AEW in the next part, and we will see you then once you click on it. That's up to you. Go ahead. Do it. Do it now. Adios, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.